What's up everyone, back for another beer review, and today I'll be reviewing a beer from Brauerei Heller-Trum, aka Schlenkerla, and they are out of Bamberg, Germany, and this is their Aecht Doppelbock. So they are calling this one an Oak Smoked Doppelbock that comes in at 8% alcohol by volume, 35 IBUs at the time of review. I don't know exactly how old this bottle is because it does not seem to have a bottled on date. It actually just has a printed kind of, I don't even know what a code will say. It just says SZ. As far as I know, I don't know if they've ever bottled date, maybe like on the 4-pack holders. I know with the cans, on the 4-pack holder of cans, they definitely had a canned on date. But yeah, anyway, I think this is relatively fresh, and that's because this is their like winter seasonal, and I picked this one up towards the end of November of last year, 2023. So it's either the 2023 release or the 2022, I guess. We'll never know. Anyway, so full disclosure, I've had this one before once, many years ago, and I hated it. Why? Not a huge fan of smoked beers back then. Still not a huge fan of smoked beers, but when it comes to Schlenkerla, they are definitely the best when it comes to smoked beers, and the ones I've had from them have been really good. Some a little bit too intense for me, but like this one back then, and that's why I picked this one up. I want to see what I think about it nowadays. The only other beers I reviewed from them on the channel were these two behind me on the pretentious wall of bottles and cans. These two right here, I did a live review back in 2019, and I really enjoyed both of them. So I am going to crack this one open. They have a spiel on the back that maybe we'll read at the end. It's pretty long. We'll see. But yeah, I don't want to be influenced if there's tasting notes and whatnot. But I'm expecting a roller coaster of emotions during this review. We'll see how this one goes. So we're going to give it a pour here. I love Doppelbocks. Just absolutely love them. Adore them. So, you know, I feel like I should like this one. When I picked it up many years ago, that's what I thought was going to happen. And ended up not being the case. So we'll see. Put this one over here like this. All right, so first things first. Didn't look like there was a ton of carbonation. All right, so it has a beautiful looking, you know, like this vibrant, like bright orange color. On camera, it's going to be way darker. It's going to look like a dark orange for sure. But in person, hold up to light, yeah, it has this like reddish, brownish kind of orange color. It looks beautiful. Very fine particulate that is suspended in animation. Half finger of a straight up tan or khaki colored head. A little bit of alcohol legs around the rim. But I mean, as far as like a Doppelbock goes, that looks really nice. Wish there's a little bit better head on this one. I didn't pour it super aggressive, but I also thought there was going to be maybe a little bit more carbonation, but it is what it is. Let's get a nose. And the clarity, again, very, very fine particulates. I can see my hand through it, but again, it's a little bit hazy with the particulates. Look at the nose. Yeah, it's so fucking smoky, but it's not smoky like their Rauchbier, right? It's more, yeah, it has more of like a lot of folks when they smell these beers, the first thing they can think about is like bacon, right? Or like, you know, like smoked meats. And that's what I'm getting in this one. In a lot of those other ones, I just get like more like campfire smoke. And this one is definitely more like, there's like a depth to the smoke for me. So there's a lot of like caramel and toffee. There is a big like brown bread component from the base Doppelbock. And then on top of that, it's like smoked meats. It has a layer of smoke character that's really nice. There's a depth here that, again, I don't get with some of the other ones that I actually enjoy. And as I kind of swirl around a little bit, and my nose is getting accustomed to the aroma and the smokiness, it's starting to die out a little bit. It's still there and noticeable, but I'm starting to get a little bit more of the base beer. Yeah, there's a little bit of like a fruity, like a plum, maybe a raisin. Yeah, I mean that smoke is. Here's the thing. There's a touch of like obviously this is oak smoke. I think they use beech wood for like their Rauchbier and their other smoked beers. This one, though, again, doesn't have that campfire. It's more, again, like a meat smoke. And that oak is providing almost like if you've ever had just like a oak-aged beer where it gets, there's like a little touch of maybe like a vanilla. Yeah, definitely a little bit of like just a generic oak character. Honestly, it smells pretty good. Better than I remember. But again, when I had this the first and only time, I just didn't really care for smoked beers. And I still don't love them. But I'm starting to tolerate them a lot more, and some of them are pretty tasty, I must admit. So we'll see how this one is. Prost. Yeah, smoked meats all day. Like sweet, smoky, Very clean. I dig it. Body of this, medium touch over medium body, 8%, but it is, a Doppelbock, so it is a lager, and it drinks a little bit lighter than the ABV, which I think I appreciate for a beer like this. The mouthfeel, it's definitely more carbonated in the taste. It has like almost a moderate carbonation, but it is quite smooth on the palate. There's a little bit of like a creaminess going on. Very clean. Here's the thing too, 8%. I can't tell you. There's no warming in the chest. There's nothing on the palate. Deceptive off of those first, 3 or 4 sips. The taste, as you can see, I'm going back and I hope I'm not making faces because I'm trying to figure out what I'm tasting and how to approach this one as I break it down because I really don't know. I really have no idea right now. All right, we'll try to go front to back like I typically do and see what I'm tasting. First thing that hits you, it's a smokiness. Again, it's more smoked meats. It's more of like a complex smokiness as opposed to, again, that campfire smoke. And there's a blanket of that on the palate from front to back that never really goes away. And a lot of times I'll be like, oh, that's underlying. No, it's predominant. No. But then I start to get the nuances of the base beer. And what I get right up front is like, to me, like a raisin brown bread. Like there is a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot. There's a decent amount of dark fruit. It's more raisin, plum, in that nature, maybe even like a little bit of black cherry, but like raisin and plum. And it's a brown, it's a darker brown bread. After that, there's a little bit of caramel and toffee, sweet, like a brown sugar. Yeah. And then halfway, 2/3 way through the palate, I get a little bit of hop character. Has this nice, like earthy kind of, I'd say like an earthy grassiness maybe. Maybe a touch of a spiciness. And this finishes semi to full on dry. So there's a lot of sweetness here from the beer itself, like a lot of malt sweetness, right? And it does lean sweet, but on the finish, it does balance out enough where it's not cloying, which is really appreciated. There's a mild to moderate bitterness, more to the mild side of things from the hops. Yeah, I like that raisin. It's weird. It's like for breakfast, you have a plate of like smoked sausage and like smoked bacon, and then right next to it you have like, say, I don't think I've ever had this, but like a raisin brown bread, like French toast, like right next to it. This is very savory. It's not like super sweet, although it does have a sweetness. It's more savory than anything. There's a little bit like umami going on. Definitely much more complex with the characteristics of the beer as a whole than the two behind me. But I will say my favorite has been the Helles. I think the Helles, because I don't think they actually used like smoked malt in that one. They actually just, I guess I forget when I reviewed it, I talked about it, but I think it was like the yeast just imparted the smoke because being in their house yeast, just imparting from all the smoke they do in their brewery, like the yeast, kind of took on that characteristic. So they just did it with the yeast, and it gave you like nuances of the smoke. That's where I think my tolerance for smoked beers is more in that Helles. But I can appreciate something like this now, I would say. It's still not my favorite. I don't love this beer, and I probably will never like smoked beers, and that's fine. Like beer is subjective. We all have things we enjoy. I would say that this for me would be one of those, I sit down at the end of the night for an hour and I drink on this and savor every sip and kind of figure out what I'm tasting and whether or not I like it, what I like about it, what I don't. Trying to do that here in a review in 10, 15 minutes, it's a little bit more difficult, but I will say this is way better than I remembered, and I expected that. And I actually do dig this one. I'm going to finish the rest of that bottle and not hate my life. I also, in my fridge right now, I have the Rauchbier, which is the cherry wood smoked beer they have. I am going to review that probably in the next month or two, try that one out. But I really enjoy this one. Now, I will take back what I said about the 8%. Still nothing on the palate, but there is a nice warming in my chest now, which, yeah, this is so I understand why this is a winter release, bigger ABV. The weather here has been terrible in the Buffalo, New York area, so this is going to warm me up this evening. And I dig this one. I'm going to pour the rest into the glass, and then we will rate it, and maybe I'll read the back here, see what they say about it, because I'm curious. All right, as you can see, I went a little bit harder to try to generate a better head, and nada. All right, so let's rate this one. I'm going to give Schlenkerla's Eiche Doppelbock, I'm going to give this, taking consideration, it's a personal rating, and I'm not going to rate the style because, again, this isn't a style that I've had other than this. Like, I've never had a smoked Doppelbock outside of this, so I'm not going to be like, oh, there's a 4.5 out of 5. I don't know what it is for the style. There's probably not a lot out there. Probably very good for the style, I would say. Maybe amazing, maybe world class, right? But for my own personal preference, I have no issues giving this beer right here a straight 4 out of 5, and I'm happy with that rating. You know, it's a good rating. For me personally, and probably better than I anticipated based on the fact that when I bought this last time many years ago, I think I had maybe a third of this bottle and I poured the rest because I couldn't appreciate it. And now I can, and I actually enjoy it. So yeah, 4 out of 5 for this beer. Really good stuff. For what it is, yeah, I enjoy it. Price point availability, I think this was like $5.49 or maybe $5.99 a bottle. Is this a... Yeah, 0.9 fluid ounces, so 500 milliliter bottle. Yeah, I mean, it's imported, it's smoked, with oak, and then on top of that, it's 8%. So I'm fine paying $6 for a bottle of that. I don't know if it's cheaper in other areas here in the US. I'm sure it's way cheaper in Europe, but not a bad price point to pay here in the US. And availability, I have no idea with them. Schlenkerla, sometimes I see their stuff, sometimes I don't. Usually they're a Rauchbier and their Helles I can get quite often, the Urbach and a couple others, but this is the winter one. So like I said, this is a winter seasonal, so you should see this one throughout the winter months. And yeah, if you've had this one before, post in the comment section and let me know what you thought about it, especially if you like smoked beers and you make it to the end of this review, post in the comment section, what is your favorite from Schlenkerla? Like in order, let's say top 3. What are your top 3 favorites from them? And maybe I'll grab 1 or 2 of them if I haven't had them and review them. Anyway, it says on the back here, while for the classic Schlenkerla Rauchbier, traditionally beechwood has been and still is, so beechwood it says is used. The malt for Schlenkerla's oak smoke is kilned with oak wood. Yeah, says the resulting Schlenkerla Oak smoke malt has a smoother and more multi-layered, smoky note than the intensely aromatic beech smoke malt. So that's what I was saying. I think this one had more like complexity and depth, and not just like campfire, like hitting your palate with a lot of smoke. This had more nuances and subtleties while still being very present. It says the hence complex smokiness in this Doppelbock is paired with the multifaceted bitterness of the finest Hallertau aroma hops. Okay, it says with 8% alcohol and another color, an amber color, it matures for months in the 14th century brewery cellars into a special treat for smoke beer lovers. So yeah, I mean, pretty much what I got drinking this one, pretty much what they said on the back of the label. And yeah, I'm going to shut it down. So again, if you have this one, post in the comment section. Appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review here in the Beer Patrol. One other thing I want to mention, I said it a couple times, but when I take a sip of this, it's super clean, like on the palate too. It's really nice. It's just, it's a well done Oak Smoked Doppelbock. To the next one. Prost.